you realise that there's a lot of people around who believe very, very strange things. You know, they believe that UFOs exist and the aliens are communicating with us. Some people believe that the Loch Ness Monster exists. Some people believe that there's a big humanized walking around the forests of North America called Bigfoot. And there are people who believe that the moon landings were a fake and that they didn't happen at all and it was all done in the studio. There are people who believe that the airplane contrails contain poisonous gases and that that big business and big government are trying to poison us. And this person believes that lizard people are walking around. His name is David Icke. Now you can kind of think of these people as crazy and lunatic and that this is all very funny and you'd be right. But there's a whole load of other issues that crazy talk and strange ideas and mad, unsupported ideas and have a direct effect on our own lives. And they can affect our health, they can affect education, they can affect relationships, and certainly money and career. Unfounded ideas that have no basis in any sort of evidence, and that can be quite destructive. And the thing is that we need to be aware of is that there's a lot of people who are trying to make their ideas sound plausible. So, the first technique that people will use is emotion. Emotion is a very, very strong way of getting us to change our beliefs and getting us to be convinced of different types of ideas. And this is from a website from a group of people who believe that fluoride in the water is poisoning us and is deliberately being put into the water. And they've done a fantastic job. I have to credit them, to be honest. They've turned a droplet into a nuclear bomb. They've also used very, very loaded language, such as mass medication and Nazis and deadly, toxic and brittle bones and stuff like that, creating a huge emotional reaction, making us feel very fearful. And one of the techniques here is to try and prevent us maybe from looking and seeing what the facts of the matter really are. Okay, here's another one. The benefits of vaccines are well established at this stage. They've prevented millions of deaths around the world over the last few decades for childhood diseases that used to be very, very common in society now are quite rare, and as a result child mortality rates have been directly affected as a result of it. But there's a large group of people who believe that vaccines are dangerous and that they want people to stop using vaccines, and it's quite a dangerous idea. And here you've got a baby who is really, really scared and seems to know something that you don't, and you've got this huge, ugly green droplet as the needle advances towards the child. So again, it's trying to make people feel scared, and it's trying to make people feel worried, and it can be a very effective technique for doing so. Now, does anybody want a tomato fish? You know, again, this is something, this is again a message from the people who do not want genetically modified foods. So they will present the most horrible image possible, and again, causing in you a feeling of disgust. And the opposite also applies. So if they're peddling a particular type of philosophy, a particular type of idea, they will couch it in very, very calming terms. There'll be lots of fluffy bunnies, and there'll be lots of people dancing in the fields, and everything's sunny and sunshine and flowers and all this kind of stuff, little babies. That, again, is quite a deliberate thing. We shouldn't be surprised by this stuff. It's called marketing. And if you look at any, all you have to do to test out your baloney detection kit is to turn on the television and look at a couple of advertisements, because that's what they're doing to you every single day. And the other technique that people use is celebrity. Celebrity is a very effective way. If the celebrity is doing it, then it must be good, and it must be something that is worthwhile following. This here is the London Wasps, a famous rugby team, and under it is Rubens Barrichello. And the thing that they've got in common is a little plastic bracelet that they've got around their hand, just around their wrist. And the bracelet is known as the Power Balance bracelet. It cost to make, it cost about 30 cents, and it was sold for about $30, right? So that was quite a markup. And it sold in the millions because of the celebrities that they had recruited to advertise the band. It basically, it had a little hologram in it, and what it was purporting to do was to improve your performance, improve your ability, and sports people flocked to it, thinking that it was the greatest thing. But what happened was that they were called out on their bluff, and they had to issue a disclaimer on their website saying, you know, well, little plastic bands really are just little plastic bands, and they don't really work. And they have gone bankrupt, but not before bilking many, many people out of millions of dollars, really. They make millions out of what was really a scam. And these are other celebrities, some of which you probably well know, who have been very effective in promoting ideas that have been very, very dangerous. And again, I go back to the vaccine promotion, or anti-vax people who are telling people not to vaccinate their children. This is a number of people. There's also the guru effect, which is basically building somebody up so that they seem to be untouchable and that they are extremely, that they know everything. They've got the great insight that other people don't have. And, you know, they're almost untouchable. They're almost revered like saints or gods or whatever. The guy in the middle is the creator of homeopathy. And he developed homeopathy in the 1800s when medicine didn't exist as a science. And magic words are a way in which people who don't have you know, the evidence to explain what they're doing, to kind of provide a kind of a nice scientific sounding type of aura or type of cachet to the words that they're using. So they use words like vibration and energy and biofeedback and chi and quantum and all of these things completely out of context from what they really mean. And the idea is to make it sound sciencey and to make it sound understandable, but really what it is kind of magic. You know, really, you know, how does it work? I don't know, I'll call it magic, I'll give it a fancy name. And that's all we're seeing when these kind of words are being used. Even the people themselves can't describe how it works. It really is magic, and it's just being couched in scientific language to make it more plausible. The black or white technique is probably one of the most insidious ones. Well, essentially what they're saying is that if we can demolish your ideas, or we can poke holes in your particular ideas, then our idea must be the correct one. So it's like an either-or type of thing. If it's not that, it must be the other. In other words, ignoring all the other alternatives or all the other possibilities, or creating you know, a certain amount of doubt. It's basically like a used car salesman. So if you go into a used car place and say, oh, it could be a Ford or it could be a Toyota, you know, the salesman will say, well, if you don't take the Ford, you can take the Toyota. Hold on a second, there's loads of other cars that I could buy, and I also have the option to walk away. Thanks very much, I don't want anything at all, right? And the black or white technique is used very, very often. If it's not evolution, then it must be creationism. If it's not medicine, then it must be homeopathy. If it's not, if Osama bin Laden didn't fly planes into the World Trade Center, then George Bush must have done it, right? You kind of get the gist of this thing. You know, if you saw something strange, if you saw something in the sky strange at night, then it must be little green men. If you saw something strange on the ground, then it must have been ghosts. So again, it's trying to kind of to limit the type of idea and not kind of, you know, use your head for that. Okay, too good to be true. This is probably one of the easiest ways to spot baloney. When you see people advance something that works every time in every way. The cancer cure that works that nobody wants to tell you about. You know, if you do these 10 different things or these 3 different things, you'll become an instant millionaire. You know, that sounds too good to be true, and you know what? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Anecdotes. Anecdotes are the best way of being convinced of something that isn't so, because it's somebody you trust telling you it. It's your neighbour, it's your friend, it's a family member. It could even be yourself. You could see something strange one night, not know what it is, and it's my personal. I thought, how could I be wrong? How could I be lying? How could my friend be lying? They're people I trust implicitly. The problem is that that's not the question. The question is, are our senses that great? Are we really that great at picking up the information that we saw? Because to be honest, we can be fooled. Now this here is I'm not sure if you'll see it down the back. It's an optical illusion. But if you're in the front, you might see that it's shimmering a little bit. Does anybody? These are parallel lines. Do they look parallel? No. Right. So optical illusion. You know, it's something that is very, very easy to fool us. So there's a phenomenon known as pareidolia, which essentially, where you see faces or you see images that don't exist in reality, but your brain is putting some sort of face or body. So there's a Madonna in an again, that's a picture of Mary in a piece of candle wax. And people make a huge big deal out of it, but you see it often enough, you'll start seeing places that go, this is a picture of Jesus in a piece of wood. And then you've got the context. There's a whole website on this stuff. It's great. It's called Faces and Places. I want to see it. You never look at that before. I want to stay in that house. And then there's the crying dam, and then there's ghostly eyes inside the leaf. Okay, so that's that kind of stuff. And confirmation bias is something that everybody should be aware of. As we grow up, we develop opinions, we develop a way of looking at things. And what happens is that if somebody tells you something that you agree with, you immediately go, yeah, that's what I told you all along. But if it's something that you disagree with, well, they actually tend to forget about it. You blank it out. You completely forget about it, that somebody has actually told you. You don't understand it really, so it's completely forgotten straight away. It's a technique used by psychics very, very well. We also, our memories, you think you've got a little video camera going around, you can remember everything perfectly, but actually what scientists have been able to find is that you really only remember the bare essence of a lot of things in your life. And that when you go to remember them, you create those memories again. Sometimes to the extent that you actually create false memories, things that didn't happen at all. But very often, what happened in 2007, with all its complexity and with all the kind of the different things that were going on, well, 2012, it's a completely different memory. It's a great anecdote, something I always tell at the party, but actually it wasn't really like that at all. And these are the people who exploit it the most. These are people who make money off it. They are called magicians. Any magical shows, they are using all of these faults in our software, all these faults in the way we look at things and perceive the world, to make it look as if what they're doing is magic. In reality, they're tricking us, and they're tricking us big time, and they're pretty open about it. That's their job, but they do a great job of doing it. So it brings us to the question of what is good evidence. So I talked about bad evidence and people using bad excuses for evidence. But what about good evidence? And there is a system and there's a technique out there to try and identify good evidence from bad, and it's called science. Right? So science, when we think of science, we think of all the great stories about the universe, and we think of all the tiny things that are happening, and it tells us an awful lot of new stories about science every single day. But one thing that you rarely hear is the hard work that goes into scientific discovery and making scientific findings that actually make sense. But the hard work needs to get a little bit better airing, because it helps to, it prevents an awful lot of the problems that we have with our own perception. First of all, they're using very large samples. They're often using very good science, using very large sample sizes. A lot of different people will be tested to try and see if the effect is significant or not. It protects against bias. So in other words, all these things I've been talking about, all the things that we can be convinced of don't exist, there's protections built in, such as double-blinded trials and stuff like that, to try and prevent those things happening. There's control groups, so some people will be given a therapy or a pill, others won't, and there will be an assessment made to see if there really is an effect or if it's just a placebo. And then there's peer review. This is really tough for a scientist. You come up with a finding, you say this thing might exist, and you've got all your colleagues waiting for you, ready to beat the living Jesus out of your findings, ready to basically tear it apart. And the idea here is that if you can get to the other end, then you probably have something that's worth thinking about and talking about. And just as one snowflake doesn't make a blizzard, very often science is built up on more and more evidence, more and more information, all building up a picture about what's really going on. And as a result, we have things like planes in the sky, we have medicines that actually do work and help people every day to prolong their lives. And we have, we can communicate with the other side of the world because we can rely on the outputs of the scientific process.